Newstalk 1340 KROC-AM. This is Rochester Today. Tracy McCray and Andy Brownell, and from the Minnesota Department of Transportation, MnDOT Mike is here.
Good morning.
The Public Affairs Coordinator for District 6. It's such a great official
title.
Sounds
official, doesn't
it? You get
it?
that on a shirt or jacket or something like that?
You know, we can get all sorts of stuff we can buy on our own. I should get
take
something
up too much room.
Yeah. It almost looked presidential.
Our family has started watching The Voice. We were late arrivals to this program, but Gwen Stefani gives whoever is on her team these black T-shirts with this gold glittery writing that says Team Gwen. And my son is just beside himself with how ridiculous that is. And so I'm saying we are going to get him a shirt that says Team Ott. I don't know what it's going to say, but something like
no glitter, I hope.
District 6.
That would be kind of cool.
Be kind of a good one for him, too.
What would
the logo?
What would the acronym be for that? Because we have POTUS, obviously, for President of the United States.
We're called PACs.
I was going to say, he's a PAC, a Public Affairs Coordinator.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So I could be the PAC man.
I was trying to incorporate the District 6 into that.
PAC District, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
DS PAC.
Yeah. In time for Christmas, gift giving. We'll make sure you have that. You got 3 kids to buy gifts for. That could take care of some of you. Huh?
Yes.
How are you doing?
Very well. It's the first day of October. It's exciting.
Here we are.
Yes.
Is that good news?
You know, I'm a fan of fall, or the autumnal season,
there
as I was listening to. So I'm not a fan of these types of days out here today, but, the sunny, beautiful, and then the leaves have changed. It's kind of nice.
Too bad there's only like 5 of those.
I'm going to give you the same advice that I gave Rich Peterson. You've got to go back to your childhood and get some rain boots. Because I'm telling you, it's fun to walk through puddles.
Yes.
There's something about it that is like, I'm an adult, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to walk right through that puddle, and it just feels good.
I predict that one of these days, between now and Saturday, will be the warm day.
Yeah.
Because the soil temperature is probably getting to that point. We're going to have that day when everything smells like dead worms.
Yes.
Seems another reason to like fall.
Part of the season, Dead Worm Day. No, there's a T-shirt for you.
Well, it happens every year.
All right. I love the first thing on your list that you sent us is that we're going to do a construction wrap-up.
Sort of.
Are they really doing a wrap-up? Aren't we still full steam ahead?
Well, there are a lot of projects that have wrapped up, but there are others that are still ticking along. And actually in the final stages, officially most of the projects will wrap up November 15th. But, I just got a list of the ones that we have wrapped up. Highway 52 down by the Iowa border, folks may have encountered that. That was a repaving, and that was where we had to kind of take into account the Amish buggies. But that's all done, so there's no traffic control down there. Highway 63 south of Stewartville, that was sort of a headache for folks for a while, but now it's a nice smooth road. They got the paint and the striping on there. It looks really nice, and I've heard some very good comments there.
So pretty.
Yes. I-90 over by Nodi, and I know, Andy, you mentioned that one stretch at one time. That wrapped up yesterday.
And now that's a beautiful, smooth piece of concrete, is what you're telling me?
Yes. I was out the other day.
Ready for a road trip.
Yes. I was out with our materials engineer, and he was sort of educating me on a variety of the ways they treat and repair pavement. And it was fascinating, these, how they just file it down. It's amazing. So that's done.
Okay, just on that one, by the way, if you drove it, there were 2 of those bridge deck transition pieces that were among the worst I've ever hit.
Yes, that was...
Every time I hit them, I would look behind me to see if pieces of my vehicle were flying down the road.
I think there was a consensus among motorists on that, too. So, that should be smooth. And
those days are over.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah, we'll move on to the next bridge. And speaking of bridges, the Lanesboro one on Highway 16 should wrap up this week. That was mostly a detour for folks coming from the south of Lanesboro, but that should wrap up. And then also Highway 60 near Dumfries, which caused people a lengthy detour. So that's wrapped up as well.
How big is District 6? What is it? What part are we?
It's 11 counties, so essentially from Wisconsin to I-35 and from Iowa up to just north of, like if you drew a line, say just north of Northfield, above Cannon Falls, and then over just, north of Prairie Island.
So is it one specific highway is the line up there in the north?
No, not even that really.
So north of 19.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get north, like essentially, that last bridge that you go under by the golf course at Cannon Falls, then things transition over to the Metro District there, so...
It's off of your...
That's right, where the weather changes too, right?
It often does feel that way, yeah.
Wow. Well, it's a good thing it doesn't do it over at Dexter. That's the other place where it changes.
Yes.
At Dexter can push it
The
over to
wind tunnel.
I-35. Well, I just asked because if people do have questions, I don't think I mentioned this the last time you were here, but if people do have questions about any of those District 6 roads,
Yes.
I'm not sure that you will know the answer to any of them, but you would absolutely know the people to talk to about it.
I know the very smart people who have the answers. That's what I always tell them.
That's why you get to be the spokesperson.
Yep, I'm not an engineer, but I know a lot of smart engineers out there, and it's amazing. Their grasp of details on projects that they've done 5 years ago or things they've got in the works ahead, or it's just astounds me. They don't have to dig through files. They'll just go, oh yeah, and I'm like,
and unfortunately, they seem to be a shy lot because I keep saying, bring some of them in, and you're like, they're all,
I almost had one of our traffic engineers today, but she had a meeting that bumped into the end of this. So
I just think it's so interesting.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling them is we do a lot of amazing and interesting work out there, and it's nice to share it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm still a huge fan of Highway 52 through city.
Yes.
I'm just, I guess I'll just a softie on that one. I just love that it's all fixed up for us. It's wonderful. 282-1234. Good morning. Welcome to KROC. Do you have a question or a comment?
Yes. Good morning.
Yeah.
The overhead lights on Highway 52 all the way through the corridor of Rochester. Does we have somebody locally that replaces burnt-out bulbs?
Yes, we do have a crew that's in charge of replacing all the lights throughout the district, but that is an area, and oftentimes there's a schedule for them, but if they do encounter where there's a string that are out, people can call in and just remind them, and they can, work the schedule, and it obviously they're up high, so it does take some equipment and some traffic control to get all that accomplished. But do you notice some that are out?
Well, in particular, the 19th Street Bridge. Under that bridge, there used to be two lights, I believe, from the center island posts that shined for the north and south bounds.
Oh.
And those lights have been off for longer than we have been alive.
Just after the project. Well, that's a great...
Well, I wonder if they were shut off on purpose.
I don't know. I'll have to check and see.
Well, that bridge is so much wider than any other bridge around.
Yeah,
it's
we'll
like
have
a
to
tunnel.
It's more like a tunnel, so that then you get maybe one overhead light that's above that's burnt out next to the bridge, and that just adds more darkness to that underpass.
All right. Well, he wrote it down on his list, so we'll be listening for that answer next month.
And it's also a good
Thank
reminder,
you.
too, to just anytime, like today especially, just to put your headlights on. It's not, a lot of times it's not required, but, headlights do give you some visibility and also provide you with, a look ahead as well.
I thought it was required. I thought that if you turn your windshield wipers on, you must turn on your headlights.
Yes, in those cases, but I'm sort of out of the habit any time of day. Yeah. Used to drive on a lot of two-lane highways.
It's 10:20 at KROC. We'll take a quick break. Look at the weather I forecast. It is soggy. Turn on your windshield wipers and your lights. KROC-AM. Overcast today with scattered thunderstorms likely. Highs around 62. Tonight, cloudy, and the chance of scattered storms continues. Tomorrow, some isolated storms possible. Overcast again in 67. Friday, a chance of scattered showers and 50. Saturday, partly cloudy and 49. Sunday, scattered showers again, 56. And on Monday, a chance for scattered showers and 57. It's fall-like, autumnal-like weather. See, it sounds better when Gregory says it.
Yeah.
Autumnal. It's 52 degrees right now. This is Rochester Today. I'm Tracy McCray along with Andy Brownell. And from District 6, Mike Dougherty is here from MnDOT.
Good morning.
I figured it out when you say it's fall-like. What you're saying is it could be worse.
It could be. Well,
it's a
what
very
was it?
Midwestern phrase.
No, it's along with interesting, one of those words that could go either way. Last week when it was so lovely and everybody was fighting on the first day of fall or the last day of summer or whatever it was.
That was lovely.
I said, I don't know who it was that said, we can call it Christmas for all I care. I said, hey, it's a San Diego winter day. This is winter in San Diego, so let's call it winter, whatever.
Question a few. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You were talking off the air, and you were talking about these engineers that you get to hang with now and talk about the cool stuff. What's the coolest thing that you've learned since you took on this job?
Oh, wow. It's almost a daily occurrence, depending on who I talk to. Boy, everybody has different. That's what's amazing is they're all specialists. Like if you talk with the bridge people, I was sat in this room when they were deciding with this pedestrian bridge how to replace it, and then they had all these other replacements, and I was like, whoa, look at, and they were talking, how it all comes together and the size of the beams and the strength, and then I go down and talk to the traffic people, and they're looking at all these different traffic counts and distances and sight lines.
Can they bring that up on a computer screen when they do that?
Some of it they can, and a lot of it they just know. They're just well experienced. And then the folks in the materials lab, it's astounding what goes into the makeup of our roads with the concrete, and the knowledge that they've learned of why this is stronger this way or it withstands the winter, and there's all these tests and studying. So there's probably not a single revelation, but it's amazing.
If I'll ever get over the entrance and exit ramps and how amazed I am at when they say, we're going to get that road down to this road, and then how they do the clover leaf or whatever direction or the bank or whatever they do, I still just kind of shake my head and go, how do they figure out the entrance and the exit?
And then you look at the old ones, right? That everybody complains about now and how tight they are. And but the vehicles were different then. They weren't able to corner as well. They just
speeds were probably slower.
Well, around the corners, because you remember the old tanks. You took a corner at that kind of speed, you felt like you're going to tip over. So, but nowadays with the modern suspensions, people can go around those corners a heck of a lot faster than they used to.
282-1234. Good morning. Welcome to KROC. Do you have a question or comment?
Sure do.
Go ahead.
A long time ago, I learned that concrete is not waterproof.
Correct.
And that water gets down into the steel rebar and can destroy it. And I'm wondering if there's some new technology in the past 25 years that I can remember that this happened over on some bridges. Number two, is there a possibility 5263 northbound at 19th. Come up the ramp, and it's a yield sign instead of a stop sign. Can we get a stop sign up there? Because nobody's yielding. And that when you're coming from the southbound 52 up the ramp and you want to get over to the east, the traffic isn't stopping. They're just kind of looking at you and daring you to get over on 11th. Does that make sense?
Yes. That second question first. MnDOT does an astounding amount of work to try to counter bad driving, and that's what that is. I have a son that's just beginning the whole driver's license process, and it's a reminder of all the things that we learn, in yield. Part of that might be as people come off the highway, they're coming at a higher speed, and he's talking about the right turns where you can make the yield. So, but that is the responsibility of the driver to yield, and yet as the driver that's coming across that lane, they also smartly have a responsibility to drive defensively and monitor it. That's something we could certainly look at, but I think also it can...
I dare you to send an observer out there and look during rush hour at exactly what's happening, because you might be surprised.
All right, thanks for calling in.
Part of it probably is...
Tell me about the concrete, please.
Oh.
Yes, I know they have made advancements in terms of, drainage and makeup. They also treat a lot of the rebar, I know, to guard against rusting, but there are points where some of those bars can turn sideways, and that was the thing I was driving along. Yeah, with the pressure. And
now you just got me with that one.
Yeah.
They can do what?
If it's and part of it may be at the installation point at the time, but over time you get the pounding of the traffic, and these are in segments, so the joints are made to move.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, but if the bars get turned, it can lock up, and that was what our materials engineer was showing me. So we do this concrete pavement rehabilitation, where what you see down on I-90 by Stewartville, where they'll identify areas where there's been failure.
That's happened.
They'll cut those pieces out, put in some new rebar, so it's less expensive than replacing the whole piece.
So
but
they're actually welding in new rebar when they do that, huh?
Yeah, or they've got an adhesive they can put it in, and it sticks it in. They got this driller that just drills into the side. It was cool. We watched it, and this whole crew was out there just getting after it on Monday morning. And
That's
so
awesome.
we haven't perfected it by any means, but it is probably better than the 25 years ago that you referenced.
All right. We'll take a quick break for news. It is 10:29. Mike Dougherty is here from MnDOT, and we're going to have to talk winter driving when we return. KROC-AM. News Talk 1340, KROC-AM. This is Rochester Today. Our guest is Mike Dougherty from MnDOT. He's the Public Affairs Coordinator. So if you have a question or comment, odds are he might not know the answer, but he does know who to talk to about it.
Yes.
So that's one of the reasons why you're here, is so that people can get some of their questions answered.
We'll try.
We'll try. Oh, I'm sorry.
His job is to translate the engineer speak
That's right.
into our speak.
All right, winter driving. I really hope that the next time that we have you in here, which will be November 5th.
Yeah, let's not be.
The day after election day.
After election. My nephew's missing voting by one day. He turns 18 on the 5th.
Ooh.
He's bummed.
Yeah, that would
He
be
totally wanted to vote.
Is this the one who would be able to vote for your cousin?
Sure, yeah.
Because it is state of
Yes,
South Dakota.
state of South Dakota. So, you have to hope that we don't have any snow, any winter driving conditions on November 5th. I'll have my fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, I think we'll all have our fingers crossed. Yeah.
So why did you put winter driving on our list today?
Well, if people consult to the 511mn.org website that has the driving conditions, it's great for the summer. It's got a lot of the construction jobs listed, so you can know where there might be a detour. But as we transition into winter, it also gets a high usage for people, just the driving conditions, that as we get snow or freezing rain, our snowplow operators, our maintenance people that are out there, they call in the conditions as they are on the ground right there. And we've changed some of the descriptions this year. It matches up with Iowa, and I think they're actually better. Now we go with normal, partially covered, completely covered, travel not advised, and then closed. So it's a little simpler, but I think it's a little more explicit in, should you venture out, these are the type of conditions.
What is your idea of fair driving conditions might
right.
be different
It used to be
mine.
good, fair,
my favorite
hazardous.
thing about closed is that means you should not go driving on this road.
In fact, it says travel is not allowed.
Not allowed?
Yes. There's
Against not
ticketed,
advised.
Right. Yeah, there is the likelihood that you could also skin the ditch, but you'd also probably end up with a ticket from the State Patrol or someone.
You know
well.
what? That is exactly how it should be.
Yes.
Because when the conditions are so poor, and you decide that you're going to go out, somebody is going to have to rescue you if you don't make it.
Exactly.
And that puts them all in risk. And so I love that. There should be a ticket if you go out.
That's just it. It really taps a lot of resources that would be diverted away from clearing snow elsewhere.
And I mean specifically if you drive around the entrance ramp to
Exactly.
the interstate, to that
Yes.
gate that's like, do not go onto this road. People drive around that. When you see tracks in the snow that go around that, I always think, are you kidding me?
Hey, I got four-wheel drive. I can do it.
Yeah.
282-1234. Good morning. Welcome to KROC. Go right ahead. Hello. Do you have a question?
I've got a comment.
Go right ahead.
I know that a lot of people think that fat tires or wider tires get better traction because they're wider, there's more area on snow or ice. I'd like to say that's not true. The narrower the tire, the more pounds per square inch, the better traction you will get.
Nice.
So if you go buy a set of tires for winter, get narrower tires, not fatter tires.
The big fat tires are for off-roading
Yeah. Thanks for calling in. I like that point. Very good.
or drag racing.
Or drag.
Yeah.
We don't want any.
No.
We don't. Did you hear him just say he's got a new driver at his house? We don't want to talk
I
about
didn't
drag
say
racing.
drag racing is not street racing.
Oh, okay.
See,
Very
there's a
good.
difference.
Anything else on winter driving?
No, I think, if people just get accustomed to looking at that map, the 511mn.org, it is a really great resource, and they have some planned upgrades as things move along that'll incorporate weather and things like that, and those will be forthcoming. But it's just good practice to consult it before you venture out for
Put
your
it
day.
in your bookmarks.
I really like the change of descriptions. I think that's a great idea.
I do too. And I would love to know the numbers of how many people look at that Christmas Day and Christmas Eve.
Ooh, I'll have to ask about
Because
that.
I was thinking, I know in the summer, when I'm going to the cities or when I'm going on vacation, and I'll be going through the cities, is when I look at 511. But always, at holiday traveling time, I look at that all the time, it seems. I've just got it pulled up and I leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the guy who just called with the tire issue in how tires behave, and especially in slippery conditions, it just reminded me as well that as we move towards this, and we're also moving into this wet weather too, and the cooler and hydroplaning becomes shut off the cruise control.
Oh my gosh.
Because I've seen so many times when I've seen a car in the ditch on a completely straight section of highway, and I'm going, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And inevitably,
snow or rain.
Inevitably, it's usually the cruise controls on.
Absolutely. 282-1234. Good morning. Welcome to KROC. Hello.
Yes, hello. I've got a question for the
Okay.
for you. On 2nd Street Southwest to Civic Drive, there is a bike path that is in the middle of the road. As you probably know, this was before from, I think, about 20th Avenue to Civic Drive was county property before, and there is a path there, a bike path, that the county's had for 10 years. When the city took this over, right now they changed that, wanting to call it the policy was to call that a sidewalk and have the street, right in the middle of the street, a bike path at a busy intersection. And I think that as far as safety, this is very unsafe and is asking for an accident to happen.
I think you answered your own question, though, for our purposes, because you said when the city took that over. Is that the case, Mike, that there's city traffic issues, and then there's the MnDOT traffic issues.
Yeah, each agency, whether it's city, county, or state, is in control of certain roads, and within the city, most often it will be the city. And I do know some of those lanes, though. If you think about it, the bike lanes at a corner, they do move them out, but that is probably a safer way to do it because then the car goes to the biker's right. So you're not looking at a motorist trying to make a right turn in front of a bike if you kept the bike lane close. That's the way it sounds where he has that, but I'm not certain.
I'd say one of the things that you should do, sir, is you should talk to your city council member.
Or call when Randy Staver's on next time, because that would be, the city council would be in charge of those kind of decisions.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but I've asked the question, would you let your children or grandchildren drive in that lane?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't let my kid on a bike on that road.
No.
Well, I appreciate your information.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I think is the most interesting thing about any of the downtown biking things is you can set it up to the best of your ability, but I still am never, ever going to bike because you have to. All of the cars that are around you have to trust that they are following those rules.
And I know you guys do have bike lanes on Highway 14 here in town, and thankfully I don't see very many bikes using them because I understand the reason they're there, and I'm still going to go one block over and go down the residential street rather than ride on that thing. Yeah,
they're for certain types of bicyclists and people that are more experienced,
brave, or other descriptions.
Yeah, but there are I see more and more evidence of bikes being used for commuting, and if you look downtown, we got bike lockers and things like that. So it's accommodating another group of people that use the roads, and we do have to. But yeah, it's personal preference though, and you can choose.
You have to be very
nice to have options.
You have to be very trusting that the person who's coming up is not distracted on a cell phone or something.
282-1234. Good morning. Welcome to KROC. Do you have a comment or question?
A question to start with. I have a problem with an erratic stop and go light, and everybody I call says it's not my problem. They hand me off. On 12th Street and South Broadway, or Highway 14 and 63, westbound, at the Broadway stoplight, it's erratic. It lets 3 cars through and goes red again, and I've seen them backed up as far as 5th Avenue trying to get across. But nobody does anything about it. It just does it occasionally. Is there an answer?
Yeah, doesn't it make a difference what time of day it is?
Well, I usually go there during the middle of the day.
I think it's there's a time of day component to it as well.
Yeah, the newer ones, they can trigger it, so it's certain timing, and it is kind of tied to a whole system. So, and then, like you say, depends on the roads. I should have brought my map because there's a mix of lights that the city maintains and works with, and as well as what MnDOT. So, oftentimes, like people will call about the 2nd Street by Highway 52, which the city maintains those and does the striping on the roads for that. So there's different things but I don't have my
Right.
my handy map in front of me.
And that Broadway one might be a weird one because you guys handed over Broadway to the city.
Yeah, I'd have to check on that because we have 14, but yeah, the city has Broadway,
North
which
south.
used to be a 63. Yeah.
Thank you for your calls, everyone. We need to take our final break, and then we will return to talk about bridges with Mike Dougherty from MnDOT KROC-AM. For Truckin' America, car, truck, or SUV, Truckin' America has products that protect and improve your vehicle's looks, reliability, and function, specializing in aftermarket products that'll make a good vehicle even better. Truckin' America in Rochester and truckinamerica.com, the automotive aftermarket experts. Scattered thunderstorms likely through the day, overcast as well, and overcast is the word for the next few days. 62 tonight, scattered storms today, scattered storms tonight and 56, and then overcast Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe partly cloudy on Saturday, but highs around 50, give or take 5 or 10 degrees. It's fall. What do you want?
Duck hunting weather.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
It's 53 at KROC-AM. This is Rochester Today, and Mike Dougherty is here from MnDOT. Let's talk about bridges as we wrap things up today, because the Mississippi Bridge is how's that coming along?
Good. That's what I think is kind of fascinating about this area at this time in history is we've got 2 bridges that are under construction and one that's in the planning stages. So Dresbach down on I-90 by La Crosse, it's going well. It's going to wrap up in 2016. It's about $187 million.
It's one of the most amazing construction projects I've ever watched happen.
It is. And that's why I thought I'd bring them up. Is they're just fascinating to look at all the things that go into that. And that one's the busiest right now with the interchanges for Highway 61 and to get to the rest area.
Oh, yeah.
And
I haven't been over there. You've got a kid there, so you're there more often.
The ramps that they're building
I got to go down there.
are incredible along the river. When you come off that 90 bridge and you're going to be going north, the view you're going to, well, you better be watching the road, but the people in their passenger seat are
tell
going
the passengers to enjoy it.
Take a look.
Yeah, it is.
You like that ramp going on to 52 going north?
I'm going to love this one.
Oh, this thing is good. You're going to be thinking you're in a spacecraft.
Well, and that's what I think is kind of fascinating is the piers that they're building like that come out. If you look at the design, they are structurally sound, but they're designed to kind of look a bit like some of the trees sprouting up. They've got sort of a shape and contour. It's cool. And some of the concrete that they're using will be colored to sort of blend in with the bluffs. So that's really going on. Winona is just getting going. If you like to go down, that's a great viewing area along the river. They're building the coffer dam, so you'll see a lot of barges out there. That's a $142 million project. Their goal is to get the piers started very well. So with these Mississippi projects, we have to deal with spring flooding all the time. So that's what's amazing is they factor all that into their construction plans.
They factor flooding
in.
in.
It's going to flood. So,
oh my gosh.
They've got that. And then tonight, if you're in Red Wing, we've got a public meeting from 4:30 to 6:30 at the public library in Red Wing to talk about the Red Wing Bridge. It's the Eisenhower Bridge.
Yeah.
That'll be replaced. That'll start probably in 2018. And we'll talk about some of the design, some of the color schemes, all the little intricacies that go into it. So,
are they going to be able to keep a bridge open while this is happening?
Yes, and that's what we try to do here is we keep the old bridge open and functional until we have the new set up, and then you can just switch over and then like in that case, that bridge will go away.
Are you going to blow it up because I want to be there if they do.
I wish we did. No, but they'll probably cut it up and
that's kind of boring.
And the nice thing is,
demolitions expert over there at MnDOT?
Yeah,
I know there has to be.
Or we know people that can
right.
We know people with explosives. So, and yet Winona, they're going to keep that old bridge. So they're getting a new bridge plus an old bridge, so they get twice the traffic then. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff that way.
282-1234. Good morning. Welcome to KROC. Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hey, I was wondering, did they ever give any thought to, as they go through Rochester, to having that far left lane, a through lane, I think would help the traffic process through there? I'll hang up and listen.
An HOV lane, a far left lane that goes just straight on through. The way that I consider it to be that way now, that's kind of how it's set up.
Yeah, I think that's, generally, you leave it to the drivers. But yeah, when I head back to MnDOT, I'll either get out in one of those two lanes, at least for the time being. So,
and that's why people get mad at me if I'm not going fast enough and I'm all the way in that left lane. I think, well, I need to get out of... I'm going all the way through. I don't need to worry and bother these people that are merging in and out. I got to get out of their way. Mm-hmm. It drives me crazy when folks don't do that. And then you're merging on and please move over. There's nobody there. Please move over.
Yeah, anytime there's an interaction, and that's one thing our traffic engineers look at is anytime there are driver interaction, there's possibility for, crashes and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's good practice if you are planning to head on through, just get out in the left lane and, maybe someday if Rochester grows to be the metropolis some predict, we may have something like that.
An HOV. Yes. That would be nice. Okay, and then you mentioned it briefly when you were talking about the engineers, but that pedestrian bridge over in Winona.
How nutty was that?
That was crazy.
Yeah. And that just shows...
first of all, what happened.
It's a pedestrian bridge that serves primarily the St. Mary's University campus, and it crosses Highway 14, which is a very busy highway. There's over 10,000 vehicles a day. And you've got vehicles coming down the hill. Anyway, a truck that was carrying some construction equipment, something happened with its load. It was too high. It cut one of the beams through and then spread the other one up. So we were very lucky that it didn't collapse. But nobody
was on it.
No, and no students were on it or anything. So
that's a bad day for that guy.
Yeah,
that rig.
Yeah, and so we ended up taking it down, creating sort of a temporary pedestrian crosswalk. With a lot of warnings and things.
But you're going to put a temporary span over it, aren't you?
Yeah, and that's in the plan now. We're going to do that. But the students had to get back and forth, and St. Mary's has been great at working. They actually rescheduled classes.
Please tell me there's crossing guards there, little old ladies that are crossing guards.
There were for a while,
Yay!
But yeah, in golf carts and whatnot.
Okay, a temporary bridge. Why go through the bother of that?
It would take too long because we have to replace it.
So you're going to have like a rope bridge?
No, it's got like 2 steel beams, but then there'll be wood floor, and then they'll build a cage around it. But we save the stairs, and so eventually...
Then you put a cement or more complete one. Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll do the planning because now that bridge was built in 1963, which was long before any of the ADA access. So we'll incorporate all that, which will create a new design for ramps and things like that. So, and that'll take a little time because that wasn't in any programming or budgeting. So we have to figure out where that can happen maybe in the next 2 to 3 years.
Does somebody insurance company pay for that?
We're hopeful. That's how it's supposed to work, and I haven't heard the outcome of that, but that's why drivers carry insurance, and
Because I know you take out a light pole, your insurance got to pay for that.
Yes.
We were my son and I were up at IKEA one day, and we were there when a truck drove, because you drive underneath that building to go and park, and somebody had a U-Haul truck. I would assume they had just moved. They were going to come and get some furniture since they had a truck. They drove it right into the building, and we saw it happen. And that has stuck with my son. Like any of these height restrictions on bridges and all that.
And you'll notice them.
Oh, my gosh.
And you'll notice the warnings, and they're there.
Yeah, and so this driver, I'm sure...
That pedestrian bridge was pretty high up.
Yeah, it was over 15 feet high. So
that's what happened. He had a piece of construction on top of a truck?
In a trailer, yeah.
So he didn't realize...
I think it was a crane. I think he was hauling a crane.
Yeah, it was one of these... they call it a jig lift or something.
Oh, okay.
And somehow it popped up or it wasn't secure. We don't really know, but somehow...
Did you know what a jig lift was before you started this job?
No, I would call it one of those construction dealies,
Dealies! Yes, I was going to say it has to be dealy.
Yes.
Or thingy.
Yes.
Wow. Well, and, maybe this got to have a slush fund, a MNDOT slush fund that covers accidents.
Oh, we
so
hope
when somebody
that's why everyone carries their insurance.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's true. Well, anything else? I know last month when you were here, you said, are you still taking applications for snowplow drivers? Is that closed now?
That's wrapped up,
okay.
Yeah. And now they're getting everybody scheduled in the various truck stations and then just kind of wait to see when the snow flies. So that's done. There is one other thing coming up next week. We've got it's called Saved by the Ticket Award, and from what I understand, it's the first one that will be issued in the state. It's a Winona police officer. He did a traffic stop on a 16-year-old driver back in 2013 for not wearing a seatbelt. The driver then put his seatbelt on, and later that day was involved in quite a horrific crash, and the seatbelt saved his life. And so October 9th, over in Winona, they'll mark that, and there'll be a lot of publicity on it. But it's a great a reminder of that, you might get a ticket, but it's for your own good. So look for that. Next week, we'll have some publicity on Saved by the Ticket.
Oh, my gosh. I was just going to say, in my hometown newspaper, there was a teenage girl hit an embankment, flipped up, rolled her 2 times, and got out and walked to a nearby farm because she had her seatbelt on.
Yeah, those seatbelts will.
That is amazing.
They do work.
They'll also show a an airbag deployment at this thing over in Winona next week, so that'd be kind of cool to watch.
I do know that's not a quiet affair when that happens. You've got about 35 seconds. Good morning. Welcome to KROC. Your question?
Just a quick question. It's out of his area, but what's the deal on the lift bridge? It's still water. When the new one is done, will that be torn down or whatever?
You know anything about the Stillwater Bridge?
I believe it's historic, so I believe they're going to maintain it. But once the bridge is done, most of the traffic will use that other way.
I thought, I could be completely wrong on this. I thought there was something about making a pedestrian bike type situation.
That could be.
I'd have to do some research on that.
Sorry, I don't have the details on that.
We appreciate all the phone calls, and I'm glad that you came in.
I know it's staying up.
Yeah. I'm glad you came in.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Good day to be out of the rain.
It'll be a nice fall day, an autumnal day when you come back next month.
Yes. Could be worse.
It could be worse.